Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And in this one, we've got some big news in the sphere of Blizzard Entertainment and World of Warcraft. And this time around, it is very positive news. And if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with things related to the gaming industry, then smash that subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated. Now, the biggest announcement that has come forward here is that Blizzard Entertainment and NetEase are going to be renewing their agreement to bring back their games to China. Now, they had previously lost this agreement and lost a huge revenue stream that likely led to a lot of cutbacks, a lot of layoffs, a lot of dialing back in general at the company that they were maybe not even going to be expected for, because this seems like a very unprepared thing to have been dismantled at that period of time. And now that is going to be restored, which could have big ramifications in terms of overall development. We recently saw that they canceled their survival game, and now maybe that can get back online. Who really knows? They've been cutting back on Overwatch PvE content. Maybe that can get back online. Maybe this means that there are now going to be more resources for things like Classic WoW and Classic Plus, maybe also more resources for retail WoW. We're going to have to kind of wait and see how this plays out going forward, but China was a huge revenue stream. So with this being restored, I'm thinking that it's, almost impossible that this doesn't have some benefits in terms of increasing the work capacity and the output of the company as a whole, and is likely going to be received really positively by the community at large for Blizzard Entertainment. Now, the next piece of news that we've got to cover here is that Cataclysm has had its official announcement and its roadmap, but it is a lot different than previous roadmaps. So Cataclysm is going to be coming out on May 20th. The pre-patch will be coming out on April 30th. It is important to note that there are some exclusive mounts that are going to be now limited again. You're not going to be able to get them. The Zul'Gurub mounts and Mimiron's Head, Invincible going back to a lower drop rate. A lot of limited time rewards. So if you're a classic player with Wrath of the Lich King moving to Cataclysm, you should really make sure that you get these before they're gone. But the main point to really talk about with Cataclysm is that their content cadence has been accelerated rapidly. So with the launch on the 20th, the Rise of Zandalari patch is going to be coming out in July. The Rage of Firelands is then shortly going to be coming out in October. And then the Hour of Twilight is coming out at the beginning of January. I don't think you understand how small of a time span that is to go from July to basically the end of the expansion in January. This is something like 3 months a patch cycle. Now, this could mean multiple things, right? Right now in the gaming industry, you got to have a really upbeat content release cadence to be able to keep up with every other game, because new game comes out, super hype, 2 weeks later, nobody's playing it. So this is likely a strategy that's being implemented from the lessons possibly learned from Wrath of the Lich King and even Season of Discovery. That content needs to come out quick or people get bored and leave. Another thing, maybe on the more negative side, could be that maybe they're anticipating Cataclysm to not do as well, so they want to get it over with as fast as possible, which means that maybe we're going to move into Mists of Pandaria faster than possible. I know a lot of people are excited about that. If that ends up being the case, I would maybe have concerns depending on development cost of if Cataclysm doesn't do well, then maybe they just don't do Mists of Pandaria. So for those that want Mists of Pandaria to come out, we better make sure that there's going to be some good numbers here for Cataclysm to make sure that's going to happen. But I am leaning more into the side of they probably just want faster content cadences, so there's less downtime for players who are interested in this mode, similar to Season of Discovery, right? We saw between Phase 2 and Phase 3 that there was a large drop-off of players after they had cleared the raid a few times, and they didn't really feel like they had a lot, where to go from that point. Another thing to take into consideration with this accelerated speed is that they're going to have to increase the loot acquisition. Now, they did a decent job of this in Wrath of the Lich King Classic for PvE, but for PvP, they didn't really do very much as far as arena points. So I'm really hoping they will dial that in, because I actually am really excited to play PvP in Cataclysm. So you're going to need to be getting like twice as many arena points than you would normally, right? Because the patches are basically half as long. So they've really got to make sure that they accelerate the pace that we're able to get our gear, so we can actually have full gear to be able to compete in these seasons for Cataclysm. So I'm really hoping that they're going to be able to dial in on that and make that happen, because I'm very excited for it. This was really unexpected to see that it would be such a short duration. It also means that it's going to be competing pretty heavily, I think, with retail content, right? Because the War Within is coming around in that time frame. So I'm not really the biggest fan of how that is going to be releasing. It's likely going to be padding some metrics as well for quarter four in terms of overall subscriber count for people that don't want to miss out on major patches or major expansion moments, which is pretty much everybody. I think the majority of people who play games now, it's like they jump in for the first 2 weeks of an event or a moment because it's really cool. Everybody's involved, and then you can't really take much more than a week or two off from work and life to be able to continue that. But very excited for this. You definitely want to keep on touch with this to make sure that you're not falling behind. And then the final point of news was that the Sunken Temple raid from Season of Discovery Phase 3 was actually very hard, much more difficult than any other classic raid we have seen to date. So much so that the raid was not even cleared in the first day, which it typically happens in like the first 2 to 3 hours. I know a lot of players and guilds were stuck on the Shade of Aranicus, but even prior raid bosses were very difficult. I've seen that some raid bosses have different orders, like Jamal and Ogam, in terms of how the boss fight's going to play out, reset to reset. There's been a lot of effort and unique tailoring into these raid mechanics. So while I think I understand the criticisms towards its difficulty level, it's very obvious that Classic, though, is getting a lot of attention. There are a lot of detailed and in-depth raid mechanics that honestly I wasn't even really expecting to see from Season of Discovery. I thought that was going to be like very basic, upscaling some of the bosses in this dungeon to be at a raid level for 20 players, and this is only the level 50 experience, right? We haven't even got to level 60. What does this mean for level 60? Are there going to be additional mechanics in raids like Molten Core? Is there going to be new loot because they've been adding new loot and new tier set bonuses at level 50? This opens up the floodgates to a huge amount of potential at level 60 for some really big chaos and some really cool mechanics as far as collecting all the different abilities that have now been released up to this point, and possibly now with China being back into their revenue stream could mean more for Classic even moving forward if it continues to maintain this level of success. So with War Within around the corner, I think the alpha is likely going to be coming out pretty soon. Hopefully it's going to be like publicly available so we can talk about it and show you what's going on with that, because I'm really excited to see what is going on with the War Within. They've been very receptive to feedback for it, most notably with the Oracle talent tree for priests. Everybody was highly critical of it, said, hey, you guys, okay, we understand why you're being critical. We're going to go back into the workshop and work on this talent tree a little bit more. And hopefully that's going to be the case for a lot of the other talent trees, because some of them are absolutely fantastic, right? The Riders of the Apocalypse talent tree is absolutely insane. But then things like the Pack Hunter for Hunter is not that great. I'd really like to see them go back on that and iterate more on it and get more of a Rexar theme. Get some of his pets like Misha and Huffer, the little Quill Boar, like incorporate Rexar into that talent tree because it fits so well for survival and beast mastery already. I think thematically and gameplay wise, incorporating some of those beasts, whether they be buffs or they appear in the battle alongside the hunter or something like that, would be really cool. So hopefully there's enough time, and now with that resource and revenue stream in place, it will give them the gas that they need to get all of this amazing content on its wheels and rolling out to us. It seems like the end of this year is going to have a lot of stuff packed into it if you're a World of Warcraft player and you don't want to miss out. So thank you very much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.